Podcast. I am your host, Lady Roberts, on behalf of the senior pastor of this house, Reverend Dr. Sammy G. Roberts. We'd like to welcome you to our broadcast. Today, we're going to be talking about depression, the big D, I like to call it sometimes. So this is the One Right Choice Movement broadcast. And we like to say here that one right choice can lead to many. This is the city of transformation. Before we go further, we want to welcome you and we want to invite you to our in-person services. They happen here in our sanctuary. The address is 941 West Bedford Lewis Road in Hurst, Texas, and we enter through the north entrance. So today we're going to talk about depression. We have with us today Brother Elvin. Brother Elvin is going to share just his journey with depression and how he has been able to control it and conquer it instead of it conquering him. So without further ado, I want to welcome Brother Elvin. Welcome, Brother Elvin. I'm just going to ask you to just introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I really appreciate you having me here. I really like to help people that are going through depression and make them understand that help is out there and that they can overcome it. So as you said, my name is Elvin. I'm turning 26 in a couple of weeks, and I was born and raised here in Texas. And I've traveled around the U.S. As a truck driver and as a bus driver, and got to see a lot of different things and meet a lot of different people, and that's a big part of why I was able to overcome depression. But aside from that, I just love meeting new people and exploring different cultures and all that good stuff.
Awesome. So again, thank you for coming. Those of you that are tuning in and joining, please like this video, share this video. If you're watching by way of Facebook, like our page, share this video, because I'm positive that something that Brother Elvin is going to say today is going to resonate with somebody. Maybe it may not be you particularly. You may know someone that's going through depression. You may know someone that's going through this situation, and something that is said here will be able to help them. So invite your friends to share this video. So one question that I have is, according to your perspective, like, what is depression? Because I know sometimes people get it mixed up and say, oh, they're just sad, and why don't they just get happy again, things of that nature. So if you could just tell us by definition what depression is.
Well, and you're right about that. Depression is I believe that a lot of people misinterpret depression, and in my experience, depression is just way more than being sad. As you said, people think that depression is all about sadness. Unfortunately, it's not. You can be happy and still suffer from depression, yet you can not suffer from depression and still be sad. And that was my experience. My depression was more, to put it more into perspective, it was more of me dealing with an enemy within myself. That enemy being myself, if that makes any sense.
Thanks a lot.
So, for me, it was just dreadful. I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to do anything. I lost the passion that I had for doing things that I love to do, such as sports or playing instruments. All the things that I once enjoyed to do, I didn't enjoy anymore. And I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't even want to die. I just didn't want to do anything. And that's how it starts. And eventually, you have this voice inside your head that is just telling you, hey, you're not good enough. You're ugly, you're fat. All these negative emotions that are just in your mind. And I felt trapped. Like I was just trapped, and I needed a way out. And that's eventually what leads to suicide. You just want to get out of there. You want to get out of your mind and just not deal with it anymore. And I know for me, when I had those suicide thoughts, I didn't want to die. There's a lot of things I wanted to do, but I just didn't want to deal with myself anymore when it came to that. And, it was just tough when you're dealing with that. And as somebody who suffers from depression, that's why it's so hard for them to be open-minded about it, because people do not understand that. People, will just tell you, think positive, or, read the Bible or all that stuff. But it's just, the crazy thing about depression is something we do to ourselves. Like, we're doing this to ourselves. And when I was dealing with it, I told myself, trying to get out of it, and, it's something I'm doing to myself. Nobody's doing this to me. I'm doing this to myself. But then again, I can't stop it.
Right.
So it's just like something is in here, trying to bring you down. And that's what suicide comes about. You start to think about ways to go out and not deal with it anymore. And unfortunately, some people take that way out.
Yes. So one thing I want to encourage you guys out there that are going to watch this and are listening to this, know that you're not alone in this. A lot of times we tell ourselves that there is nobody else dealing with this. You should be able to handle this. You can conquer this, and you don't need anybody, so be by yourself. And the moment you are by yourself, it tends to get worse. So my question to you, Brother Elvin, is there one thing that happened in life, a combination of things that you can put your mind on and say, maybe this is where my depression began?
Yeah, well, it's been a tough life that I've lived, and I can tell you it all started when I was a kid, when I lost my younger twin brother. And a lot of people don't know that I'm a twin, but my twin brother was actually born after me, and he lived 9 hours. We both had a heart condition that fortunately I survived and overcame it, but he didn't. And thinking back on it, when I was a kid, I was just angry at God, asking him, why did you take my brother? And I was always kind of that mind, like my inner self would just question all these things, like, why did you take him, not me? Like, why did I survive, but he didn't survive? Or why didn't you take us both? And growing up, I had that thought inside my head, just every time, why? That's all I asked, why? I grew up in a strict Catholic home, so, for me, it was, we prayed every night. If we didn't pray, we get spanked. Sometimes, I get hit in the mouth, if we didn't pray. So I think that's where things started to go south when it came to religion for me, when I started not believing in God anymore just because of the way that I was raised. And, fast forward a few years after that, as I reached age 17, my mom really started suffering from depression. And I was at that awkward age where I was old enough but young enough, or not old enough to understand, but old enough to see what was going on. And eventually she just got lost into alcoholism and started drinking and doing all these drugs. And my other siblings got taken away from her. And, I was turning 18 at that time, so I was able to stay with some relatives. But unfortunately, my siblings didn't. They got to go to foster home. So fast forward a few years, my sisters end up going to my aunt's house. My younger brother, who is 25 now, he ends up staying in foster home. So he doesn't come back home. And, now trying to see him is like, every other weekend, we have to go try to see him and stuff. All the combination of all those things, and my mother, lost in her own, drug addiction. And the most painful thing for me was seeing her like that, I was trying to help her, trying to bring her out of that hole that she was in. And she didn't want that help. Or I can't say she didn't want it, but she just didn't accept it, at least not for me. So in that situation, what do I do? You know, do I just abandon her, or do I keep fighting to save her? But at that point, you know, my depression starts to get worse because of that. And I can't figure out anything else but to just tell her, you know what, I love you. If you ever want to change your life, I'll be here for you, but I can't force you to. So I'm keeping the door open, but at the same time focusing on myself.
For those of you that are just tuning in, you have tuned into the One Right Choice broadcast, where we believe that one right choice can lead to many. We are joined today by Brother Elvin. We are talking today about depression, what it is, what are the signs of it, and how can you control it or get it under your control. So like the video, share it to your friends and your family. We've been talking about, you know, just who he is. He loves playing the guitar. He loves football. But when he was going through, when he first started his journey with depression, he didn't have interest in any of those things. He also shared with us how he lost his twin brother. His mother got into addiction, and just some things that got him to where he was. So on this broadcast, we said that when you make that one right choice, then it can lead to many. So my next question for you, Brother Elvin, is there a point where you felt like you made a choice to figure out how to conquer what you were going through? And if so, could you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So my first step was to recognize that I had a problem. You know, recognize that I don't want to deal with this anymore, and I need a way out. But I don't want to kill myself at the same time. So for anybody who's out there dealing with depression, I just want to let you guys know that accepting that you have a problem doesn't mean that you are the problem. You know, and that's where a lot of people are afraid to admit that. You know, I've had a lot of friends, especially one that you know, was always dealing with that. He didn't want to tell anybody because he was afraid of being judged, afraid of being called crazy or lunatic or all that stuff. You know, there's hope out there. You know, talk to anybody. If you're in high school, talk to one of your teachers. Talk to if you're in sports, talk to your coach. You know, or if you're in church, talk to your pastor or one of your brothers or sisters, and tell them how you're feeling. You know, it doesn't make you bad just because you're going through that. On the contrary, getting help and realizing that you have a problem actually makes you stronger.
Please say that again for our listeners that maybe want to get a cup of coffee or something and they didn't hear what you just said. Because a lot of times we tend to think that, oh, if I admit that something's wrong with me, then something's wrong with me.
Right.
When it's just a symptom of things that, you know, there are people out there that can help you. So please say that again for those that maybe missed it.
Right, yeah, so, you know, you're not weak for admitting that you have a problem. You are actually strong to admit that. And I know especially for us men that grew up, I don't know how it is in your culture, but in Hispanic culture, you know, us men are described as, you know, we can't express our feelings, otherwise we're weak. You know, we have to always keep stuff bottled inside. That's not the way to do it. And I think one of the best decisions I made was talk to my uncle. I was always afraid of talking to him because he was always straight with us, and I felt like, you know, if I told him about it, he would not make fun of me, but he wouldn't understand. So when I talked to him, I was actually very surprised that he started telling me when he was young, he was dealing with it. And he was telling me that he's glad that he came up to me, or that I came up to him and talked to him about it. He gave me a huge, you know, story about him and how he overcame it. And, you know, he was always a hardworking man. So he was more of a person that was more of a father figure to me, more of a father figure than an uncle. So that kind of taught me that you can't just judge, judge yourself saying that nobody's going to understand you because somebody will. I was afraid of talking to my uncle, and when I did, I found out that it wasn't bad. It was a good thing that I did. And that could probably save my life. So I tell people, please talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. Whether it's your brothers and sisters at church, your pastor, your coach, you're in school, one of your teachers, just talk to somebody. And if they don't know what you're going through firsthand, I promise you they will know somebody. Or know somebody that knows somebody that is going through that and that can help you.
Yes, so for those of you that are just joining us, you have tuned into the One Right Choice Movement broadcast. We are talking today about depression. We are going to shed some light on depression, what it is, what it does, and how you can overcome it. Again, this is the One Right Choice broadcast, where we believe that one right choice can lead to many. And Brother Elvin is our guest today, and he just shared with us the one right choice that he made, talking to his uncle, admitting that there was something going on that he couldn't handle himself. And so he is encouraging you to just please reach out to someone. If that person is not experiencing it themselves, they definitely may know somebody that experienced it themselves, or may know someone that knows someone that knows someone. And he was sharing with us that, hey, if you are admitting that you have a problem, it actually makes you a strong person as opposed to what the world thinks that is making you a weak person, because you are admitting that something is going wrong, you can't control it, and you're asking for help to control it. Again, share this video, share it with a friend of a friend. I always say that we are, connected as a network of people. You may not know that I know you, and I may not know that you know me, but we know each other, and we know someone that is dealing with this. And so we asked him, what is depression? He shared that with us. We asked him what was the thing that led him to depression. He shared that with us. And so I kind of want to go right now into just some of the things that you've been able to do over the months that you've been going through this, that was something that has led you to this place today, being able to openly talk about it.
Yeah, so, I express myself a lot through music. And that's one of the ways I've been able to let my feelings out. So, if I'll catch myself writing a song, I write a lot of songs. I don't do it, to put music out there. I do it to express myself, Some people may write poems or write, novels or whatever. I write songs and I compose music, and that's very therapeutic. And I think right now in this pandemic that we're on, it's making things a lot worse for those who deal with depression. Being stuck at home, especially if you're like me, you live by yourself. You don't have any family members, any relatives, or roommates to talk to. But if you have internet, and hop on the internet and watch videos about depression, and that's how a lot of things that I saw on the internet. That's how I was able to cope as well. I saw that I wasn't the only one dealing with this pandemic. And I think that's also how we feel about it. This is only happening to us. It's not. It's happening all over the world. Everybody's on lockdown. Just realize that you're not going through this alone. And I encourage people to find something that they love to do. And I realize that not everybody has internet, or not everybody has a TV or whatever, or instruments to play. I go for a run. In the morning when I wake up, I go out for a run. It gets my heart going. It boosts me. It gives me more energy for the day, and it actually makes me feel good about myself. Especially since I was dealing with my depression. That's also one of the things I want to talk about was drugs. People that deal with depression eventually go to drugs, and A lot of people don't understand why. And it's that same feeling I was talking to you about earlier. The feeling of wanting to get out of that state of mind that you're in. And a lot of people do drugs because of it. They just don't want to feel that anymore. And I tell people, find other ways to get out. There's a lot of other ways. Like mine was music. It put me into the zone where I want to write music, and it's just very therapeutic to find something that you love doing that's healthy for you.
Yeah, I want to touch on that. So for those of you that are out there that is going through this, and the only way you think out is drugs and alcohol, take it from Brother Elvin, who's going through it right now. There are other things that you can do. I share a lot with people that when my mother passed away, so I lost my mother in 96, 97, lost my dad in 99, lost my grandmother in 2001. So it was just things that were going back to back to back for me. And so one of the ways that I found that was helpful for me was to journal. Like I wrote my mom letters. I wrote my dad letters. I would literally, and people always think, are you talking about a diary?
Right.
No, I'm not talking about a diary. There's nothing wrong with diaries. And so I'm not talking about a diary, but what I'm talking about is just getting a notebook and just writing down your feelings. Questions that you may have, write those down. He talked about music, write down lyrics, go for a walk, call somebody on the telephone, watch a good, healthy movie. There are things that you can do to get yourself out of your mind, which reminds me of a scripture where it says that we need to renew our minds. We need to renew and transform our minds. And that's where the enemy gets you, is in your mind, because if he can get you to think about these things and focus on them all the time, then it'll eventually go into your heart. And once it gets into your heart, it comes out in different ways. And so one thing that I want to ask is, I heard you earlier talk about you were brought up in a strict Catholic home. Would you say that your faith has helped you cope with your depression? What would you say about faith?
Oh, definitely. Faith has been a huge part of why I was able to overcome depression. And, growing up, I always had a love-hate relationship with God. When it all started with my brother, and, I started to ask these questions, and all the questions I had was, nobody would answer them. Until I started to get older, I got into high school, and then I started to get peer pressure to not believing in God. So when I reached that point in high school, I became an atheist. So I didn't believe in anything anymore. It was not until several years ago, and this is probably the darkest story I have to share, but it's one that has to be shared for people to know what's going on.
Absolutely.
So my best friend of high school, he was actually my childhood friend, and we met in elementary school, and he was actually dealing with depression way before I even knew I had it. So his senior year, or our senior year, he was actually telling me that he wanted to die, and he didn't want to live anymore. And, back then I didn't know how serious it was. I thought maybe he was just playing, or, this and stuff. And he actually got out of a relationship that actually put him into that state. Him and his girlfriend broke up back then, and to me it seemed silly at the time, because you're breaking up, we're in high school, why are you focused on this, but we don't understand people. That's what I'm trying to get. We don't understand what people are going through. So it might have been silly to me, but for him it was heartbreaking. So I remember he was on suicide watch when all this happened. And, after that, I helped him, and he overcame it for a while. And fast forward to 2017, that same girl that he broke up with, they were on and off. And back in 2017, they were on for a couple years again, and they were engaged, and he finds out that she's cheating on him. So this was only about 4 years ago, 2017. So here he goes on suicide watch again, you know. And this time we're older, so I kind of understand now what he's going through, and I want to help him. And we're planning to take him out. We're planning to take him out and just relieve himself all that negativity and all that stress. And we plan to take him out to the movies, and after that we're gonna go because we were in the same rock band. And yeah, so our rock band, we weren't really like trying to go big or anything. We would just kind of gather up and play our music, you know, together and stuff. So basically, we were planning to take him out to the movies, and you know, later on we were gonna have a gathering and play some music together. And I remember this day, I texted him asking him, "Are you ready? Are you ready to go?" And he just didn't reply. So I called him, and he didn't answer. And I just got this feeling, like deep in my gut, I got this feeling that something wasn't right. So I called my other friend, one of the other members, and I told him, "Hey, have you heard from him, from my friend?" And I don't want to tell his name, you know, just. So I asked him, "Hey, have you heard about him?" You know, and he told me, "No, I haven't heard from him. I called him earlier, he didn't answer." So I told him, "You know what? I have this feeling." I told him what I was feeling. Let's go look for him. So we drove out to his apartment. And we go up there and we're knocking and he's not answering. And, you know, again, we call him on his cell phone, he's not answering. And, you know, the feeling was just getting worse. It was almost like I wanted to throw up, but it wasn't sickness, you know, it's hard, a hard feeling to describe it. So I get this bad feeling and he told me, I feel the worst, you know. So we called police because we know he's in suicide watch. And at this point, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. We break down the door. You know, I have to see that he's okay. So we break through the door and we're looking for him. And next thing I know, I see that his bathroom light is on, but the door is shut. So I open the door and I see his body's hanging from the ceiling. So he actually committed suicide. And for me, that's what really set me on my darkest path. You know, was when you see something like that, it's just devastating, it's scary, it's just a lot of different things. And at that point, you know, for the next couple of years, I was waking up, you know, screaming, crying, and didn't understand what was going on. And so the moral of the story is, you asked about faith. And I know these are all dark times. And what really boosted my faith and what made me a believer again was a year after he killed himself. I was on that path to killing myself. And I had a 9mm gun that I always kept locked, you know. And one day, I had just broken down. I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to escape, you know, my mind. My best friend killed himself. You know, I lost my brother. I felt like I was losing everything. And I grabbed my gun and I wrote a letter to God, you know, telling him, "Hey, I'm on my way." You know, and I just wrote everything I was feeling and why I made a decision to take my life away. So I wrote everything down. You know, I was crying, full of emotion, and I will never forget when I grabbed that gun and I pointed at myself. I'll never forget, I had a feeling that God was there. So I put the gun to my head, and in just the darkest moment, I pulled the trigger, and everything just kind of went dark. I opened my eyes, and I realized I'm still here. I looked at the gun, and the safety pin was activated. So at that point, you know, I kind of look around and just fall to my knees, and I realized a miracle just happened. I realized that God was basically telling me it's not your time yet. Yeah. And that event right there is what led me back to faith. After that, I started reading the Bible again. You know, I started to look more into Christianity again, and that's another message that I have to people, man, is hold on to your faith, I know sometimes us that are dealing with depressions, we don't want to hear that, turn to God for help. But we really need to do that, And we're angry, especially teenagers in high school, we're angry, we don't want to learn. But just remember this one important thing. The more you know, the less that angers you. So pick up that Bible and start reading it. And trust me, you'll start to understand a lot more and be less angry and actually focus more on learning, about God and about the Bible. That's one of the best things I ever did, And once I realized that, hey, I've made my peace with God, I was able to, after that happened, I was able to start therapy. And I was able to start more, playing my guitar more, enjoying it more, working out, exercising. We talked about addiction. I've never in my life touched a drug. I never smoked, drank, or anything. But throughout my depression, one thing I did a lot was eat. I was eating a lot of food, and I'm talking waking up to 10 times a day. Eating up when I woke up, throughout the day, when I slept, and it made me gain a lot of weight. And that made me very subconscious about myself and very insecure. But as time went on, I started to realize, well, what do I need to feel better? I need to lose weight. What do I need to do? I need to exercise. I need healthier. And that's actually a message I have to people is, if you're dealing with depression and you think your life is never going to get better, it is. And one thing I want to tell you is give yourself a goal. Give yourself something to look forward to. If you think that you have nothing to live for, instead think, what can I do 5 years from now? That's what I always told myself. What do I want to be 5 years from now? And make little goals to that. Like for me, in my example, I wanted to lose weight. So when I went to the gym, I gave myself a small goal. Instead of saying I want to lose 50 pounds in the next month, I'm going to lose 10 pounds in the next month. That way it's easier for me to reach that goal and keep myself motivated.
Yes. Whoa, so if you've just joined us, you're watching the One Right Choice broadcast from the City of Transformation, where we believe that one right choice can lead to many. We're joined today by Brother Elvin. Please like this video, share this video. We're talking about depression. Depression is what we're talking about. He shared with us a little bit about himself, what depression was, some things that led him to this place. And he wanted to encourage us that asking for help, acknowledging that you need help, that's the one right choice that he made. And then the choices after that just follow. The right choices after that just follow. He just talked about him being suicidal. And I know that if we haven't experienced it ourselves, we know someone that has done it, that has experienced it for themselves. And before I go any further, I just want to take a moment and just have a moment of silence for those that have committed suicide and have passed on. And for their families, we want you to know that you are not alone. You have a community of people that's here for you, that's here with you. And so we're going to have a moment of silence for the loved ones that have gone to our Father due to suicide. Wherever you are, wherever they are, may their soul rest in peace. And I'm so glad that that gun was on safety, because what you're doing today is going to help somebody. There's a song that says, if I can help somebody along the way, then my living is not in vain. And we just want to thank you that your living is not in vain. And I know that you know that. And I know that those of you that are out there watching, If you don't know it, let me be the first one to tell you that your life is not in vain, that you are here for a purpose. You are here for a reason. And there is someone that loves you even more than you love yourself, and that is the one that created you. And if you're not a believer, then I encourage you to research for yourself. Brother Elvin shared with us that he grew up in a believing home, and then things in his life caused him not to believe, and then things in his life caused him to go and search out God for himself and search out Christianity for himself. And so he wants to encourage you. He said that he wanted to encourage you to rely on your faith. If you're going through whatever it is that you're going through, rely on your faith. Know that there is someone that created you, someone that loves you, and someone that wants the best for you. And so that's one of the things we want to encourage you with today, is just rely on, in AA, they call it your higher power. Rely on your creator, knowing that he knows you best and he knows how to get you out of the situation that you're in. And just so know that we love you. If you have comments, if you have questions, we will send you the information. The internet, Google depression help. There's a plethora of information out there on the internet for you. Also, if you have questions or comments, comment below in the comment section when you're watching this. You can even send a text. You can send a text to 817-219-1006. Just reference One Right Choice Broadcast, and I promise you somebody will get back with you for the information that you need. If you want to get in touch with Brother Elvin, you can also comment and we will get that information out to you. I know that time is far spent, but I want to give you the opportunity to look into the camera and just tell somebody out there what is on your heart right now that you want them to know.
So before that, I wanted to share one last story that I have.
Absolutely.
And I know I told you that, growing up, I had a lot of questions about what happened, like what was going on in my life and why God sent my brother. And this is a story that's really mysterious, actually. And when I was younger, and this was not when I was a kid younger, but when I was like towards the end of my teenage years, I was around 19. I had just graduated high school. And, I remember somebody telling me this. God works in mysterious ways. He has a master plan for everybody. And we can't understand that master plan. It's beyond our understanding. But I remember that person telling me very clear, maybe God took your brother because if you had a heart condition, what if he was alive? He had to go through all that pain of surgeries, the painful doctor's visits and the family grieving every single time, what if God took him because he didn't want him to suffer like that? And that made a lot of sense to me, and I really thought about it. And to this day, I don't remember that person. I don't remember who that person was. I don't remember the face of that person who told me that. And not long ago, I had a dream, a very vivid dream, where somebody else telling me, what if God actually told you that? Which is why you don't remember what that person was like. Because to this day, I can't tell you, I don't know who that person, I don't know if it was a female or a male. I just remember a person telling me that. And it's just crazy, man. After that, I was like, you know what? God does have a master plan. Yes. He has a master plan for everybody. And earlier you asked me how I feel. I feel great. I've been feeling like the best that I've ever felt. Sometimes I'll still have, those thoughts, but when I have those thoughts, I know where to go. And now I'm living a much better life. And I want to tell everybody again who's dealing with depression, realizing that you have a problem does not mean you are a problem. Seek help, talk to whoever it is, you know, your teachers, if you're in high school, your coach, if you're in sports, your pastors, if you're in church, you know, your brothers or sisters, a friend, a family member, anybody. Talk to anybody and ask them, you know, that you need help. You know, a cry for help is always better than suicide, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
You know? And every time I think about it, I think, if I was to commit suicide, do I really want the people that love me feeling the way I felt when my friend killed himself? No, that's not it. It's, you have to think outside the box. Think that everything happens for a reason, and seek out that help. And I encourage people, if you're not a believer, start reading the Bible. Start reading the Bible, and it'll give you something to do, and that's something else that'll actually give you more faith.
That's something that I want to touch on. So I grew up in a certain denomination. I won't say the denomination that I grew up in. But I did not read the Bible until I was 19, because we had a book for everything. This Sunday we're going to read this page, whatever. And so when I was 19 and I began to read the Bible, mind blown. My mind was blown, because there's that love that Christ has for us, the love that God has for us, that until you know it for yourself, you don't really know it. And so I encourage you to seek that out for yourself. Of course, I'm a believer. I read Christ all day, every day. And so he has been pivotal in our lives. He has been our strong tower, our comforter. Everything that we needed, he has been. If you're just joining us, you've missed a good show. We were talking about depression, what it is, how to overcome it, and how to keep it under control. We're being joined by Brother Elvin. He has been sharing with us just his journey from growing up in a religious home, to not believing in God anymore, to going back and searching out God, and realizing that he had a problem. And I tell people, growing up in the African American community, counseling sometimes is a bad word. We don't want to go to counseling. But there's a reason why it's there. If you read the Word of God, Moses' father-in-law said, listen, if you try to handle all of these people by yourself, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So you need to find people that you can put in charge of things and that can help you accomplish what you need to accomplish. One last question that I want to ask is, therapy. Was therapy something that you sought? And if so, what kind? And I know there are people out there that feel like if they have to go on medication, then there's something really, really wrong with them. Let me encourage you, there's not anything really, really wrong with you. That you need help to get where God needs you to go. And maybe therapy is something that will help you get there. And so I just want to pose that question to you.
All right, so therapy for me was actually helpful in different ways than talking to a family member or somebody else. You know? Therapy actually gave me the opportunity to let those emotions out, let those emotions surface. And since I was talking to a professional who, was neutral, somebody that didn't know me, I felt like it was a better opportunity to better judge myself and to evaluate, who I was, and I think letting those emotions out was actually the best thing I ever did, because instead of taking those emotions out in different things like suicide or, all these thoughts that I was having, I let those emotions out and surface and started to feel better. I actually felt like I was progressing, And progress, that word alone is something that makes you feel a lot better,
Yeah.
And I tell people this, if you want to lose weight, start by taking a morning run, start small, any progress is better than no progress at all. And to me, that's what therapy was about. It was about starting progress, starting to do something about my depression,
Progress. Do something. Say something. Get the help that you need. For every financial level, there's help out there. So if you've just tuned in, you're watching the One Right Choice Movement broadcast. We are joined by Brother Elvin, and we're talking about depression today. I am First Lady Meletre J. Roberts. Thanking you for tuning in. Want you to like this video, share this video with someone. It's gonna help somebody. If you have questions or comments, go ahead and write those down in the comments and question section of whatever media you're watching on, and we will definitely get back with you. So from me to you, please get help. Make that one right choice, which is going to be realizing that you have a problem and verbalizing that you have a problem and finding someone, which will lead to the other right choices, which will be maybe therapy, talking to someone, having someone to walk down that path with you. And so, Brother Elvin, I will give you a chance to say whatever else you have on your heart.
One last thing, and I know this is a very deep topic for those who deal with depression. I know there's a lot of people out there that feel like there's nobody that cares, or there's people that don't love you. And I'm telling you, there is. I've always thought that there was nobody that cared about me, that there was nobody that, cared if I died, or, nobody wanted to hear my problems, And until I realized that when I realized I had a lot of family and a lot of friends, and even strangers that actually wanted to see me overcome that instead of, seeing me, die and kill myself. That actually made me realize, it's not this person inside your head is gonna feed you all those negative things. And when you're telling yourself that nobody cares, that's that bad, mental voice in your head. You need to get out of that. You need to get out of that. Realize that there is people that love you and that care about you, and will listen to you.
Yes, and so there is people out there that care for you. There are people out there that want to help you. There are people out there that that's all that they want is to help somebody else. And so if you have a story to tell and you would like to be a guest on the One Right Choice Movement, leave a comment in the comment section. Contact us. You can send a text to 817-219-1006. Let us know that you want to be a guest, because I want you to understand that your story matters. Don't think your story doesn't matter, because it matters. If you can help one person, your story matters. And so if you would like to be a guest, again, 817-219-1006 is the number to call or text, and we'll be sure to set that up for you. I want to thank you, Brother Elvin, for coming and sharing your story with us. Again, you don't know the countless people that you have helped and that you will help just by coming on the show. We want to just thank you for coming out and sharing your story, because I know that's not easy all the time. And so thank you so much for coming out. Let's give Brother Elvin a hand. Woo! Thank you for coming out. Again, I am First Lady Meletre J. Roberts. You have tuned in to the One Right Choice broadcast. I want to take this time also to invite you out to service. We have in-person service, and we also have online service. If you are a part of our e-family, our electronic family, I like to call them, our extended family that is watching on social media, welcome. We also want to invite you to in-person service. We are here every Sunday and every Wednesday. The address is 941 West Bedford Euless Road in Hurst, Texas. I want to invite you out, come and worship with us, and let God lead you. We never like to end a broadcast without asking you to give your life to Christ, extending the invitation to you, extending the invitation to church, letting you know that one right choice can lead to many. Join us again for service, online for Bible studies, and we want you to know that you are at the City of Transformation, where we help people discover and fulfill your God-given destiny. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have a blessed day, and remember that Jesus loves you. Have a great day.